Good evening. I would like to call this regular meeting of the Board of Education to order. Today is Wednesday, October 11, 2017, and the time is 7:02. If we could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we are going to go to agenda item B, presentations of awards and proclamations. And today we have two presentations. We have a resolution honoring our school cafeteria workers and a resolution honoring our school bus drivers. So I'm going to ask the school cafeteria staff that's joined us to come on up. Thank you. Mrs. Ancona is going to...
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
And Mrs. Tigna.
This is on.
It is. Okay. Mrs. Tigna wanted to say a few words also. Okay.
Whereas Wednesday, October 11, 2017 has been proclaimed as Newington School Cafeteria Workers' Day, and whereas the Newington School Cafeteria workers prepare and serve an average of 2,300 meals per day, and whereas the Newington School Cafeteria workers follow local and state health standards when preparing meals, and whereas the Newington School Cafeteria workers prepare meals following nutritional guidelines established by the U.S. Department of Agriculture and the state of Connecticut, and whereas the Newington School Cafeteria workers have shown dedication and conscientious performance when serving school lunches. Therefore, we do proclaim Wednesday, October 11, 2017 as Newington School Cafeteria Workers' Day. Be it resolved that we urge all of the citizens of our community to join with us in actively expressing gratitude to the Newington cafeteria workers on this very special day. Be it further resolved that the Secretary of the Newington Board of Education is directed to spread this resolution upon the minutes of this meeting and to provide a suitable copy for presentation. So all that is so true. We really appreciate everything that you do for all our students, all us as parents also. We really make a big impact on our students. And we thank you.
Hi, principal at Newington High School, and I speak for Newington High School, but I'm sure this extends to all of you, that we are so grateful to have these lovely ladies in our cafeteria every day with their smiles, going out of their way to make sure our students get a great lunch, healthy lunch, and can get through their day with a nice, healthy meal. So I thank you so much. At least at the high school, they support all of our initiatives. This year we did Heavenly Hats, and they participated. They wore all their hats, and we took a picture, and hopefully we'll be in the paper soon. But they always support all of our initiatives. So thank you on behalf of the high school, and thank you to all of us. Yes.
Thank you. Any other board member comment? Dr. Braverman?
I want to thank you all for the year that we had the snowstorm. What year was that, where we all spent
26 years ago.
3 days in the cafeteria and you were all there, and I got to meet you all personally because my kids are a little bigger, so they grew up. But cafeteria is an amazing place, and you do great work for our students, so thank you.
Emily?
I too would like to say thank you for all of your hard work. It makes a big difference for our kids. I know every time I go into the schools and I see what the food that's presented, I am so impressed. It looks delicious, all of the fresh cut vegetables and fruits and just the variety of things that there are there. It makes a big difference for our kids when they're looking for healthy choices and things that are appealing to them. So it goes a long way to keeping our kids healthy, and thank you for all that you do.
And I have to say that, yes, I never knew what quinoa tasted like until a couple of years ago. And it's not bad. It's an acquired taste, but it's not bad. And I have been at Newington in the school system for 25 years. I have not made it out of high school yet, so it's nice to see a new principal because Dr. Collins was there when I was, and before that. So, yeah, and my girls here don't want to speak, but they're Dana couldn't be with us tonight, so I guess it's on me. And Mr. Giacomo has so kindly let me take over here because I'm the one with the chatterbox. So these ladies are from John Wallace. Help me out here. John Patterson, Martin Kellogg, and I think that's it. Yeah, John Patterson. So they're very helpful with my crew, and that's all I have because I'm starting to stumble. So
Great job. Great job. Thank you very much. Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, and next we have a resolution honoring our school bus drivers. And let's see, I think we have Alan, Carrie, and Kelly if they would like to come up and join me. So, resolution honoring Newington school bus drivers. Whereas Wednesday, October 11th, has been proclaimed as Newington School Bus Drivers Day, and whereas the Newington school bus drivers have shown dedication and conscientious performance when driving students to and from school and to special activities, and whereas the Newington school bus drivers have outstanding driving safety records, and whereas the Newington school bus drivers maintain a close working relationship with school staff and parents, and whereas the Newington school bus drivers actively participate in community affairs and show a willingness to go above and beyond the workday. Therefore, we do hereby proclaim Wednesday, October 11th, 2017, as Newington School Bus Drivers Day. Be it resolved that we urge all the citizens of our community to join with us in actively expressing our gratitude to Newington school bus drivers on this very special day. Be it further resolved that the Secretary of the Newington Board of Education is directed to spread this resolution upon the minutes of this meeting and to provide a suitable copy for presentation.
So hi again, Tara Tigno, principal at the high school. Again, we are greeted every morning by these fabulous people. The high school administration has been out every morning, and it's so nice to get a wave and a smile and know that our kids arrive safely and go home safely because of your efforts. So thank you so much. And even today we had PSATs, and they even did two routes to make sure that kids, anyone who maybe missed the first route because it was a different time, got to school today. So thank you so much. Much appreciated.
Well, I know that we drive the children of a couple of the board members, so I hope you all hear good things from your kids. I've been up here probably 12 times accepting this plaque, and it never gets old. I'm very proud of the people that I have working for me. I've hired both of these ladies, and they're both outstanding bus drivers. I'd like to thank Dr. Collins for his continued support, as well as the Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think we have some board member comment. Mr. Schulman.
I would like to say that one thing that gets overlooked often by the fact that we have our own buses is the relationships that our drivers have with the children. We've seen it in recent years with programs for the bus drivers to go into the schools to be reading to their students. I personally had a great relationship with my bus driver, Mrs. Malloy. Last fall, while campaigning, I knocked on her door, and she opened it, and there was a look of astonishment on her face. We had a nice embrace, and she was crying, I was crying, everyone was crying. And it's just, the feeling of safety that parents have, and hopefully I will have one day when I have kids in school, that they know that their kids are going to be safe, they're going to be well cared for, they're going to be taken care of, and, no nonsense on the buses. So we really appreciate everything you do, and I'm grateful that we still own and operate our own bus system, because we have real control over who we bring onto our buses, and they stay for a long time and are part of our community. So thank you for everything.
Jane.
Well, I really love the continuity we have. As Josh was saying, we have our own bus drivers, but it's always the same one year after year, and they get to know the kids, and they're such an integral part of our kids' days. And it's the first contact, with anybody from NPS of our students' days is the bus driver. Hey, how you doing? Good morning. Have a great day. And they're just wonderful people. And although I'm a lot older than Josh, I still can remember my bus driver growing up in Newington. So it's just a wonderful thing. You guys do a great job, and thank you so much for that little caring extra you give to our students.
I want to thank you as well. I got to ride on the bus. I don't know how many years that was, Ellen. It was a few. But it was an amazing day for me, and I got to see how much technical knowledge you need to have to start the buses early, make sure the whole checklist is like an airplane taking off. I was majorly impressed then and still am. I'll probably come for another ride soon, but you, even without kids getting, okay, all right. That's a deal. You do a great job, and we're all proud that you're in our town, so thank you.
Yes, Emily, now it's your turn.
I've been waiting. Okay, so I'm going to kind of piggyback off of what they said as far as the continuity and knowing who our bus drivers are in town. When I drive around town, I see the same bus drivers on their different routes at different times. I know I can wave to Nancy when I'm, heading down Main Street near my house. And the kids know their bus driver because it's the same ones generally year after year. So the kids get to know them. They talk about you guys at school. So when they're on a field trip and they're like, well, who did you have as your bus driver? Oh, yeah. Aren't they great? Yeah. So they'll talk about, that's how much of an impact you really have on them. And then just, throughout even the younger kids, the younger siblings, when they're waiting to get on the bus in kindergarten, they have a familiar face if they have older siblings. So that's just such a nice piece of it. So that continuity for our kids is really important. And when I see Newington buses driving around town versus other buses, you can tell the difference. You can tell the difference, and I know there's always a friendly face that I recognize in the front, so that is huge for our kids, so thank you.
If I can just add one thing, we have a first this year, and that was 1 week ago, 2 of our bus drivers got married. That's right. He's now Mrs. Santoro, Paul Santoro's husband, one of our bus drivers, one of our trainers.
Congratulations.
No, Kelly, sorry.
Thank you. And I have to give a shout out to Nancy Bus J. I mean, she's been driving my kids. I have 2 in high school now who have to walk, and Nancy drives by them. And but she still takes Jack to school, and his bus stop, because he's in middle school, is way down the street, and I can't see him anymore. So what she does is she drops him off, and then when she goes by my house, she beeps so that I know that she just dropped him off all the way at the end of the street. And we didn't even talk about that. She just knew to do that. So really, really awesome. So thank you.
Josh, I think your Mrs. Malloy's great-grandson started kindergarten. Just saying.
Just saying. Okay, that brings us to agenda item C. We are at public participation on any matter related to board responsibilities. If anybody from the public would like to come up and join us, if you could just please state your name and address for the record and talk into the microphone, we would appreciate it.
The best way to do this, do a little collaborative reading. If your partner next to you only made 5 copies, they're thick, I wanted to save paper.
We can share, that's fine.
So you guys are a great support. Thank you. Made their way down. Okay, that's good. For the record, my name is Lucas Houle. I reside at 106 Saddle Hill Road. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Thank you for those who have been in contact with me in the relation to this matter. It's calming to know that the problems that Newington students face can be heard and dealt with. And for those that don't know me, I'm a senior at the high school, and I'm here tonight as the president of Student Council, where it is my job to even the playing field and make sure that every student in my school is being treated fairly and with dignity. Now, I'm here tonight in an effort to defend my schoolmates and offer clarification on a matter that has caused great contention amongst our community and our family of learners at the high school. 2 Wednesdays ago, roughly half of the Newington High School's volleyball team took a knee at the very end of the national anthem. I'm not here because of their actions or to debate anybody on the legitimacy of their protests. In my opinion, that is not a board concern. My concern tonight is the lies that have been propagated throughout the community about the event. Especially concerning are the ones made by an acting member of the Board of Education, Stephen Sylvia. This is not a slanderous allegation. I'm not here tonight to defame or be disrespectful. I'm here to set the record straight on behalf of my students and these women, because all too often people with positions of power can state fallacies and people will take them as fact. And last Sunday, October 1st, someone had posted their thoughts on the issue in a forum titled Newington Free Speech, Speak Your Mind. No problem. Everyone is entitled to feel however they want about this because the very premise of the argument is free speech. The problem for others and myself arose when Mr. Sylvia, in that comment thread, referenced CABE bullying policy 5131911. This policy, for those who have not been in education, which is most of us, is the bullying policy, explaining what bullying is and defining harassment. So at first the comment was negligible. No interpretation was put behind it. However, a little while later, Mr. Sylvia had explained his reasoning for posting the aforementioned policy, stating, "I must also apply the same belief to kneeling during the national anthem. No matter how noble the message, such reactions create a hostile environment that is not welcoming to all. This, as it reads, in my opinion, insinuates that women on the volleyball team should be punished based on the actions or based on a CABE policy for creating a hostile environment. First, I think that would be a stretch even if the policy was applicable. Second, the concerning part is that a member of this Board of Education does not understand that the CABE policy would be triumphed every single time by the Supreme Court cases that directly correspond with the issue of free speech in the school. The most applicable is Tinker v. Des Moines, when in the 1960s a school district tried to suspend students for wearing an armband in protest of the Vietnam War. The school district lost simply because your First Amendment rights do not stop at the schoolhouse door, regardless of personal opinion. Even more concerning than the telling of lies is these people's reaction to them. Many failed to do any more research on the issue, yet they took it as fact because they know that Mr. Sylvia is a member of the board. I have community members calling for these girls to be in trouble, to be barred from the schooling or sporting event, insulting and berating these women because they clamor onto the false hope that their course of action was wrong and punishable, because you tell them that it was wrong and punishable. If you're concerned with the behavior of the board member now, just know that the conversation continued on Newington Politics, where he dropped the CABE argument, hopefully realizing that it would never hold up in the wake of SCOTUS cases. Instead here, he references CIAC, which for those of you who don't know is the Connecticut Interscholastic Athletic Conference, and then the NFHS, which is the National Federation of High School Sports. He claims the CIAC Student Athlete Handbook and the National Federation of High School Sports, defining what constitutes the actions that must occur during a game, and if not, what penalty must be. Under Rule 12, sportsmanship, the rule indicates that the player must reflect good sportsmanship at all times. This includes respect for all participants. All participants stand, remove their hats, and honor the national anthem. He then says the match can be forfeited, quote, dependent on the levels of disrespect. This too was reiterated and taken as fact because people in our community know that Mr. Sylvia is a member of the Board of Education. They think that what he says must be true. The truth is the CIAC has no rule regarding kneeling during the national anthem. I spoke with the director on the phone personally, nor does the NFHS. In fact, in the article that you see that I presented to you, it is evident that the organization has disavowed any punishment against high school players who kneel. And for reference, it was published on April 7th of this year, so it is very current. The article discusses Supreme Court cases that can be used to protect the students, athletes, and how legally it is not allowed to punish these student athletes in any really way, or really any way, regardless of how a person feels. What kind of democracy would it be if we silenced the voices we didn't agree with? So if anyone here, or is here tonight watching or listening and is advocating for the women to be in trouble based on their actions, I would never silence you, no matter how you feel, but know that the Supreme Court is on the side of those who have protested. In summation, there is a member of this Board of Education implying and directly stating that the students he represents should be disciplined for expressing their First Amendment rights, which is not only against the Constitution, but the policies he used to defend his arguments, CABE, CIAC, NFHS, all disavow his stance. So, he's creating a firestorm from nothing. The only thing that has induced some hostile environment for the students at the high school has been the calling for these women to get in trouble based on the divisive lies posted. Ever more so, it is deeply disturbing to me and many students at the high school that a member of this board could have so little knowledge of the rights promised to the students that he was elected to represent. It is even more disturbing that people so easily succumb to these rumors because of his position as the board. One comment even stating BOE member Stephen Sylvia replied to this thread with a well-thought-out reply. However, it was buried among the other replies, so for everyone's knowledge, here it is reposted. Again, everything that Mr. Sylvia had mentioned in his reply with CIAC and NFHS was false, but it was still posted and taken as fact with no individual research. Even more interesting is the same thread, the women were called pigs. and that their parents were called pigs by a member of the community. Yet Mr. Sylvia had nothing to say to those aggressors, setting precedents that we can disavow our students' First Amendment rights to protest, but we can't disavow awful bullying in the same thread. Again, there seems to be a disconnect. How can you be so publicly against the students that you were elected to represent? It is comment after comment when they do something that you don't agree with, yet the slanderous comments made because of propaganda you spread get crickets, silence, nothing. I'm not sure what to make of such behavior. I ask that the board, or the members of this board, not only be aware of Mr. Sylvia's actions, but maybe hold an impromptu review session on the rights that students have when they enter the school, since there seems to be some misunderstanding. We all have personal opinions and convictions. However, as a member of this board, I would hope that we do not let these get in the way of our duties. For those of you concerned that this action, or that no action will come of this, that the women on the volleyball team did this for attention, let me clarify. After a number of conversations with Ms. Tigno and Mr. Myers, principal and athletic director, respectively, they decided now that they have gotten the conversation started about inequality in this country. They will work with the community, teaming with the Newington Police and other organizations to ensure that this doesn't remain, to some, a controversial stunt, but rather a teachable moment where we can transpire the energy into action. Most importantly, I'm calling for Steve and Sylvia to be more informed when making comments about such controversial issues. If we spread misinformation, we are damaging these students and bringing undeserved hate and anger toward them. We all strive to reap the benefits of the American creed that we were promised in our induction to this country, something echoed through history, through times of strife and good. We are all equal. These women will not be silenced by any member of this board or any member of this town for expressing what they believe is right. With that, I would love to answer any questions that anyone may have. And I want to make sure that there is no more misunderstanding about the issue.
Thank you very much for coming and speaking to us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Sorry.
I think you know how this works. Because it's
Yes,
public
I know.
participation, we are not supposed to
Yes.
respond. It's just the way our meetings are set up.
Yeah, I know.
So, okay, I just wanted to clarify.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
If you could.
Hello, my name is Yasmin Rincon. I reside at 118 West Hartford Road. I'm Yasmin Rincon. I am a senior and captain of the girls volleyball team. And at our game against East Catholic High School on Thursday, September 28th, some members, including myself, took a knee during the national anthem. This peaceful, non-disruptive protest was an expression of our First Amendment rights as public school students, but sparked massive controversy within the community, and I was encouraged to explain my motives at this meeting after being told we were in danger of having to forfeit our games. All the students who took a knee had their own reasons, but I would like to take the opportunity to explain mine. I chose to kneel to protest the police brutality against African Americans. Too many men and women have been killed by police unjustly and without reason. I am also protesting racial inequality and the poor treatment of minorities in this country. Me being a Hispanic, Black, Muslim woman, I am disgusted by the way minorities are treated. Women not getting equal pay, Hispanics being called illegals, Muslims being called terrorists. America is a land of different races, ethnicities, languages, and backgrounds, and we should respect and praise people's differences and not negatively generalize groups of people. Everyone should be treated equally and with respect. No one should have to fear for their life living in this country. My goal in kneeling was to get my message out there and start a conversation. I believe that I have succeeded at this goal. So for clarity, my intention was not to insult our country or veterans, but rather exercise my rights, the rights veterans have sacrificed so much for, and be heard. People, whether in person or over social media, have begun talking about the meaning of taking a knee and whether they support the movement. But I don't want to stop here. As Lucas mentioned before, we have had discussions with Mrs. Tigno and Mr. Myers about possibly working with the Newington Police Department to create a positive relationship between the police force and the community. We also discussed changing the pregame announcements at all athletic conferences to add how Newington is a unifying and accepting community. We want everyone to understand that this was not a spur-of-the-moment decision or just a little one-time thing. Before we kneeled, we discussed the topic at length together as a team during practice and outside of practice. The captains and coaches also emphasized how the players should do their own research on taking a knee. I also recommended that the players talk to their parents about everything before we kneeled. This is a topic that shouldn't be taken lightly, and we didn't want our girls kneeling if they didn't know what they were kneeling for or just wanted to do it because everyone else was. We also didn't force anyone to kneel, and we didn't pressure or bully anyone that chose to or not to kneel during the game. We respect each other's opinions and decisions. This whole situation has not affected our gameplay or the relationship the team has with each other. It also did not disrupt the game that day. As a Newington varsity team, we have a platform that many people don't have, and we decided to use our platform to advocate for people that aren't able to have their voice be heard.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public wish to come forward? Mr. Shulman, do you want to? Oh, wait, I think we have one parent. Hi.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jonathan Rincon. I reside in 118 West Hartford Road. I'm also the father of Yasmin Rincon, who just spoke. I just want to put my little 2 cents in. I want to say I'm extremely proud of my daughter. The reason I'm proud of my daughter is because she's standing up for something she believes in, and she's defending her right to do so. Now, of course, there's a disagreement whether kneeling for the anthem is correct or not, but I think everybody in this board should agree that she has a right to do so, and every member in that volleyball team has a right to do so. They also have a right not to kneel. That's what this country is about. Now, just hearing what Lucas spoke about, this situation with Steven Sylvia, and I'm disappointed he's not here. He should be an advocate for our students. I believe that's what all of you members are. You should advocate for our children. When he heard that these children kneeled, he should have been proud. He should have admired the fact that this community has raised independent thinking women who are not afraid to speak truth to power. He should have thanked them. He should have been proud of our school system to raise women to be able to feel comfortable in this community to do such an act. Instead, I hear that he's demeaning them. And this story about a community member calling my daughter a pig, calling me a pig, I'm here right now. If that person is here, I would love to speak to them. Call me a pig to my face. Call my daughter a pig to her face. Call any other member of this volleyball team a pig. And I'll tell you right now, I hope that we take this issue seriously. My daughter's taking it seriously. You see the whole volleyball team is here because whether you believe in kneeling or not kneeling, this is a freedom of speech issue. And every member in this board should understand that and respect that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public wishing to come forward? Okay. Mr. Shulman?
I move we suspend the rules to add an agenda item, response to public participation.
Emily, seconded? Seconded by Emily?
Discussion.
Oh, sorry. Discussion on the motion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No? Okay.
I move we add the agenda item, response to public participation, to be immediately done.
Okay. Seconded by Jane. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move we go back to the regular rules, reinstate them.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Go ahead.
Okay. I have so many thoughts. I want to start by complimenting the students' maturity, the leadership qualities that many of you clearly possess, and your follow through on something that you believe in. It's very difficult to want to do something and to figure out how to do it. And the fact that you're doing this as high school students shows me that there's a lot of potential in your future and obviously for the future of our community and our country. It's a lesson I learned in high school thanks to Dr. Collins on a much smaller issue, but air conditioning on the third floor. How do you do it? How do you get it? What's the process look like? Who do you talk to? And I led a group of students to get air conditioning from the town council that year. It's a much smaller issue because it doesn't affect me anymore, but these issues are going to affect you as students and members of community for the rest of your life. And I want to compliment you, no matter what your decision was on that day, that you are taking the steps necessary. I also want to compliment Ms. Tigno and Mr. Myers. Everything that we've heard shows that you've done what educators are supposed to do. Talk to your students, have a conversation with them, lead them onto a path that's going to be productive. And we appreciate that. The first time I heard about this was last Sunday morning at an event, and half an hour later I got an email, and so did the rest of the board, from a board member who's not present, describing what happened, asking for punishment for the students, hastily and forgetting about the Tinker decision because I was focused on West Virginia versus Barnett, which has to do with standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I sent an email back to the entire board, which is something I don't normally do and was likely a violation of state law because it should have been done in an open meeting, but I thought it was important to do so before we had the chance because we had a board member who had no idea what constitutional rights our students have. I have a great idea because I'm an attorney. I took constitutional law in law school. I practice every day. I'm familiar with these decisions, and I have the resources to research further the issues of whether or not it being an extracurricular activity impacts the rights that you have during the normal school day. Is the national anthem at a sporting event different than the Pledge of Allegiance? And immediately my reaction was, you have every right to do what you did. You don't leave your schoolhouse rights at the door. You can't be forced to do things like stand for the national anthem. No one can force you to do that. And I think that that's probably something you researched before you took those actions. And upon further review, I did additional research at work. I talked to other attorneys in my firm. So this is how strongly I felt about the fact that what you did is not something you should ever be punished for. And there were emails sent back and forth, phone calls made among board members, and I want you to know and the community to know that the vast majority of the board and the administration understands your rights, believes in your rights, and will support your rights and go to bat for your rights, even if it was over an issue we didn't agree with. I think that our primary responsibility as board members is to advocate for our students, as the parents said, and to protect our students. And one thing we're not always great at is combating what's going on online. It's a wild world out there, as you know, and you've grown up in, and I grew up in. And this is a good lesson for the rest of your life, that no matter your intentions, no matter how pure of heart you are, no matter the steps you take, there will be people out there who twist and turn your words. And you can remain true to who you are and take the high road and do things appropriately, or you can stoop down to their level. And from everything I've heard, you've shown the maturity that I talked about before, that you know how to act and how to be a good citizen and how to have a conversation. And we're proud of you. And I want you to know that, and I want you to know that we support you.
Emily.
Unfortunately, I am not nearly as eloquent as our student representatives or as Josh, but I feel very, very strongly about this issue as well. When I first heard about it, my initial feeling was that's their right to do that. I wondered what the intention was. I wondered why you were choosing to kneel. And I was glad to hear that our administration was having those conversations with you to try to, and I was thinking that now you've made a very public statement. I hope that there's a way to actually influence change if that's what you're looking for. And it sounds very clearly like that is what you're looking for. And it sounds like you're taking steps to achieve that. So for me, I think, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like our students stood up for something they believed in. They stood up for people that they felt maybe didn't have the voice to do that for themselves, or maybe didn't have the resources to do that, or the stage to do that. And I could not be more proud of that. I feel like that's what we want from our students. We want our students speaking their minds. We want them thinking for themselves and standing up for one another. That's citizenship for you. And now you guys are putting that into action. And I am thrilled to hear that. And I could hear the emotion in your voices when you came up here. I know that it's not easy to come up here and speak to all of us as we just stare at you. And I applaud the students for really having that maturity and composure to come up here and state your mind, especially not knowing where each one of us stands as you look at us and really make your case. And you guys did an amazing job. And that is so important. And I'm very, very impressed with you. So I will continue to stand up for your right to do that. I think that is, it's illegal. You can't take that away from them. So, So this is where my eloquence stops. So, bottom line is, I'm proud of you. I'm glad you're taking steps to move forward. And if there's anything that we can do to support you in creating change, I am 100% for it, and I will do whatever is in my power to help.
Cindy?
A lot more to add because they were so eloquent, but I get very emotional. I am proud to be an advocate for you students and for the parents and students of this town. I have daughters who went through this system, a daughter who played volleyball on the team, and I am proud of all of you for standing up for your rights, and I'm proud of the way you presented yourselves and you acted, and I am definitely proud of the administration and the coach, who clearly are, great role models for you. So I'm really proud of you all.
Sharon?
Lucas Hoyle and Yasim and Mr. Roncone. Oh, hit my microphone. Okay. Thank you so much for coming before us and speaking your mind, because it's really important for us to hear it and for it to be taped in public and on television, because we all support you. We want you to know that taking a stand is what we want you to do throughout your lives. Some of us have done that in the 60s, way long ago. Some of us will continue to do that in the future. And I want you to know we will be there for you any way that we can. So let us know if there's more you need from us. We will try to create a subcommittee, help do whatever we can to work with you. So thank you for taking that stand. It means a lot to those of us who have lived through protests in other decades. So thank you.
Jane?
Everyone is speaking, so I'll take my turn. Thank you so much for coming out. I do give you a ton of credit. I think that's very difficult to do. I personally feel it is a legitimate debate as to whether or not that's the best way to protest, but of course you have the right to do that. So I give you credit for taking a stance and coming out here and explaining to us, because again, not everyone agrees with you, so that's very difficult to do. And I think the important thing is we should talk about our legal opinion that we got. I mean, you have the right to do it, and I have no tolerance for people bullying our students against the students. I don't think that was a bullying situation, but I don't like people saying bad things about our students. This whole pig thing is really outrageous, and that's shocking to me, and that's horrible, because I have students in school, so if people were saying that. But any student is just very disheartening, and I'm really sorry that you all had to be a part of that. So I'm really sorry about that, but I think the important thing is here you have the right, and we have a legal opinion supporting that. So,
yeah. Thank you. Anybody, any other further board member comment? There's not much left for me to say either, because Josh and Emily and Cindy and Sharon and Jane, everybody spoke very eloquently. I would say the one thing that I'm upset that we as a board have not been able to do in the 2 years that I've been the chairperson is what Josh brought up is really control what goes on online. And I refuse to partake and respond. I won't. I'm not going to engage in that. But it stinks because it goes on no matter whether people have tried to engage or not. And I just want to say that's the world we live in, and that's the reality that our children are growing up in now, and it's very different, and it's a teachable moment about things that we do, and they have intended consequences and unintended consequences. And I want you to know that we hear you about the behavior of one of our board members, and again, I apologize because it's been difficult over these last 2 years, and I'm not sure of the best way to address these types of situations. That's something that we've been struggling with ourselves. So again, thank you for coming and explaining yourselves, because you didn't have to do that. And that does show the poise and the maturity, and I'm extremely proud and grateful of our students. So thank you.
I don't normally speak. This is a board meeting, but I do want to share my feelings as well. I want to thank our students for coming tonight. I want to thank Ms. Digno and Mr. Myers for sticking up for our students and getting me through over that hump, if you will, because I didn't understand it at first either, although I would support our students' rights to do what they did, even though I probably personally wouldn't have made that choice. But I do have a better understanding of it now. And I will say, with regard to how our students behaved, I will put that up against the adults in this community anytime and say I'm very, very proud of them for what they did and how they behaved, because they showed the adults how to behave and how to be a citizen. And it's one of our 3 college career in citizenship, and if that's any indication of what they're learning, then I'm very proud of them.
Okay. Josh, what do we have to do to get back to our regular meeting? We don't. We did everything we needed to do. Okay. I have to check with my lawyer friends. Thank you. Okay, we are going to move along to agenda item D, which is the consent agenda and the approval of the minutes. I think Dr. Braverman is going to help us with that.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Can I have a second? Seconded by Mrs. Guyan. Any discussion?
That's for the minutes of September 27th.
Yes. Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. We move on to agenda item E, which is old business, which we do not have any, and so we will move right along. Agenda item F, which is new business. I thought somebody said something. So again, agenda item F, new business. So the first item is standing committee information items, and I think the only committee that met was the facilities committee on September 13th. And Bob, would you like to comment?
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay. Oh, we could do that. I want to do that after. Want to just when we do the action item, do you want to just fill us in down there?
Sorry about that. The overall capital improvement, I'd like to turn it over to Lou Giacomo's.
Okay. Lou, we could do that at the action item. Why don't we do that? Okay. Okay, great. Thanks. So we don't need to do anything here. We'll just update it when we do the action item. Thanks, Bob. Okay. All right, so we're going to go to report number 1, which is our educator evaluation. Oh, I skipped right over. Our student reps. Come on up, please. My favorite part of the meeting.
Hello again.
Hi.
So we're just going to jump right in first with the Newington Athletics. So first we have the Newington football team in coordination with the Connecticut High School Football Coaches Association. They collected clothing for hurricane victims in the South. That was from September 20th through the 25th.
The boys soccer team won in their game against Hartford Public on September 25th. They won 7-0, and the girls volleyball team had their 6th win of the season on September 25th against Hartford Public with a score of 3-0.
The Newington High School cross country team won at their meet against rival Weathersfield yesterday, which means that they will either tie with Weathersfield or take the title for themselves at the conference next Tuesday.
The girls soccer team wore pink uniforms yesterday to represent breast cancer awareness. For high school related items, the students took their PSATs today, and Newington High School will be hosting the SAT for students who have signed up on November 4th. And the 32nd annual college fair will take place on October 17th, which over 150 colleges and universities will attend, and military representatives will be there as well as career representatives from Travelers, Pratt & Whitney, and other corporations.
The Newington High School Student Council has decided it will donate $500 from the homecoming revenue to Puerto Rico relief efforts. That event will be taking place on November 4th. Also, Student Council on October 6th sponsored a Heavenly Hats fundraiser, which is Heavenly Hats is a corporation that, or an organization rather, that distributes hats to cancer patients who have lost their hair due to medical treatments. The school raised $1,351, exceeding our original goal of $800, which means that now at the pep rally on November 3rd, 2 faculty members will be shaving their heads. Stay tuned to
Which
know.
ones?
We don't even know yet,
Okay.
so you'll find out.
In relation to DECA in honor of Pink Out Day, in which students and faculty wore pink to show support for the fight against breast cancer, the Trading Post sold short and long sleeve pink shirts with a ribbon printed on the front. $1 from every shirt purchase was donated to Heavenly Hats along with Student Council's donation. Amazingly, we sold out of pink shirts. Senior Prom Committee held their first meeting today to discuss possible themes for the upcoming senior prom, which will take place on Friday, May 18th.
Tickets for the Newington High School Drama Club Fall Production of George Washington Slept Here have gone on sale. And this year, for the first time, which is very exciting, people will be able to buy tickets online via nhsdrama.booktix.com. The show follows a city family as they move to a house in the country where they think that George Washington slept there when in fact he did not. It's a hilarious show, and I'm not just saying that because I'm in it. The NHS Chamber Choir's Dinner Theater has sold out for the second year in a row since its creation last year. The show will be on October 26, 2017, and if you're not familiar with the Dinner Theater, there are singing waiters from the chamber choir, students from the chamber choir perform Broadway and pop music, and there's a short play called Tech Week, which shows the plight of high school actors and techies as they try to create and put together a low-budget version of Cats called Cats from Mars.
Unrelated from extracurriculars, seniors have started the college application process. Many have begun filling out the Common App and are asking teachers for letters of recommendation. Some have also started applying for scholarships.
To also add on to Drama Club and Chamber Choir, red ribbons will be sold at those 2 events, and 100% of those proceeds will be going to Puerto Rico relief efforts. Also, the AP English Literature class took a field trip to a theater in Hartford to see a performance of Shakespeare's play A Midsummer's Night's Dream to correspond with their reading in its class.
And the AP Environmental class went on a field trip to Hammonasset State Park to explore the elements within the water by testing the amounts of different substances present in the water. Students learned that the quality of water varies amongst the different bodies of water. The marine biology class also went to Hammonasset to analyze organic matter, invasive species, and seaweed. Regarding the middle and elementary schools, for Martin Kellogg, they held a fundraiser for the places that were impacted by Hurricane Harvey, Irma, and Maria. Students and faculty donated goods such as toilet paper and diapers. Fuel Up to Place 60 will be taking a field trip to Hublin Tower, which is located in Talcott Mountain State Park, on Thursday, October 19th, And lastly, school picture retakes will be taking place on October 19th as well. For John Wallace, they also hosted a similar fundraiser to the high school for breast cancer research, in which students were given the opportunity to donate $1, and they held a pink out day as well.
And for the elementary schools, Anna Reynolds and Elizabeth Green will be having their Grandparents and Special Friends Week the week of October 23rd through the 27th. And although our report is done, I would like to add something if I can. I'm very proud to be a student at Newington High School, and am very proud of the community that we have in its diversity. I'm very proud as well to be a gay student at a school where I can also be sitting next to someone who doesn't believe in the same things that I do, but still have a conversation and be able to speak to administrators and the Board of Ed members and know that you're all on our side. So I really do appreciate that.
Thank you.
Are there any questions?
Mr. Schulman.
I wish I had thought of this before the volleyball team left to go do their homework, I'm sure. But can you guys talk about, and maybe it's even better for you guys too, because you're not part of the team and people aren't throwing jabs at you, what kind of conversations were you hearing in the school? What's the student body's thoughts on what's happening? And I know that's a little bit of a loaded question.
As someone who has friends on the volleyball team, I was hearing a lot of, they weren't very comfortable with the whole situation, everything that was happening on social media. So I'm proud of them that they all took stand and they all came here to express themselves. And even through, like, with Lucas, like, people, just any student that had no relation to the volleyball team, that everyone was standing up for themselves, and I'm very proud of them for doing that.
And also, because Newington High School fosters a community that believes in students' rights and standing up for one another, and really truly being a family of learners, we all really have rallied around the volleyball team rather, because we believe in their rights as Americans and their rights as students to speak out in what they believe in. And that connects also with the fact that we have so many student organizations in the high school, and it's because people genuinely really do believe that they should be able to share their voice in whatever way they see fit. And I'm really glad that Newington High School has a community that really offers that and allows students to do that.
Thank you. Any board member questions?
I think I'll speak for all of us that we're very proud of all the students and you all for speaking up and standing up. It means a lot to everybody at this table, so thank you.
I actually just want to commend the school body for their pulling together and rallying for each other, and that goes to show how amazing the leadership in the building is, and I'm really proud of all that. And I really actually was just thinking back, like, in all the things that you're reporting on all the schools at all the levels of the community service that all the schools are doing and you kids are doing. I don't remember growing up doing that. I personally am a community service type person, but clearly when I was going through school, we didn't do clearly as many different opportunities or things to do community service, and that in itself is something to be proud of.
And if I can add on to that as well, I commend especially, I think, Ms. Tigno for really making herself available for students in any problem or situation that they may be in, making herself available and listening to them and really trying to understand their positions and doing what she can to help. I myself have gone to her for several things because she's just a person that you can trust. She's a person that you know is on your side and like a family member, and it's really important that we have that at the high school.
To add to what Matt said, especially with this issue, I know of a lot of students who spoke with Mrs. Tigno, and she took out a lot of time of her day just to speak with them on this one specific issue.
Emily?
Like Cindy, the thing that really just stood out to me as you guys were giving your report was how much the student body is looking to give back to not even the community, but just people in need. So I'm really super impressed with that. I had heard a little bit about some things that were happening in Elizabeth Green last week, and I was thinking the same thing. I don't remember doing all of this when I was in school. I mean, I really, I needed to get another pair of acid wash jeans or whatever it was. That's what, and you guys are thinking, oh my gosh, there's been all these hurricanes. What can we do for all of these people that are without so much right now? So I'm super impressed with the way that our students are looking beyond themselves and even beyond our community to do good things in the world, and you make me very proud.
As the students rep suggested, that Grandparents and Special Friends Day is coming up, and being a volunteer in the elementary school for the past few years as a special friend for children who didn't have any representation, I'm extending a welcome aboard to any board member or anybody in the audience that has an hour and a half to give to a child and learn about what they're doing, probably if in the lower grades, making a rocket ship, coloring, and it's an enjoyable hour and 15 minutes or so. And then, of course, a little treat at the end of it. So if anybody is interested, and I believe the date was, could you please?
October 23rd through the 27th. In all 4 elementary schools, we'll set you up if you have availability. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'd like to add on to that, just a personal story myself. My cousin who goes to E-Green, his grandmother just flew in on Monday from Puerto Rico because she was affected by the hurricane. My grandmother was affected by the hurricane, and she didn't have anything, so we flew her over here. So I think that's very important to see what other students are doing and how their life is going, and just understanding the ins and outs of their daily life. And I really appreciate that.
Thank you again. Okay, we are going to move on to new business item number 1, educator evaluation report. And I'm not sure, is that from Stephen?
It is,
Yeah?
yes.
Okay,
Thank you so
Stephen.
much. Annually, according to the General Connecticut statutes, we are required and responsible to provide the Board of Education with an update on the annual status of educators through the evaluation system. So this is our annual report that we do each year. And I just want to share a couple of things, and you'll see that on the front cover page of the report that you have. But we do have an educator evaluation system and development plan that was developed back in 2013 when legislation changed and the requirements changed. So we worked to change that system. We do have a meeting called PDEC, the Professional Development Evaluation Committee, comprised of mostly teachers, a few administrators, as well as association representation. And they work annually as well to review the plan and determine if we can change it to better meet the needs of our staff. So this report is based on the status of last year's implementation of the plan. And I will report and just take a side note to say that this year the PDEC committee is working hard to see if we can shift the plan up a little bit, and we're running a pilot program right now with some new changes that we're exploring that we came up with last year. So I'm hoping next year at this time when I report, I'll share with you a little bit more about the pilot program and how that went, and if that becomes the new way of implementing things. But for this year, I would like to share that the plan has remained very very similar with the components of the evaluation system since 2013. Some of those can be found on page 2 of the plan, where you can see that 45% of the plan is comprised of student growth and development. 5% is whole school student learning, which is how students do overall school-wide. 10% is parent feedback from a survey which many of you may have received if you have children in the school annually. And 40% is based on observations of performance of practice in the classroom. I would share that during last year, 61 out of 341, or 18% of certified staff, were supervised and evaluated in accordance with the non-tenured part of the plan of the program, which is a little more rigorous than the tenured. They require more observations and a little more in the process than the tenured status. If you flip to page 3, you'll see that there is also a tenured portion of the plan, which has 3 cycles to it, cycle 1, 2, and 3. And during the 2016-17 school year, 280 out of the 341 staff, or approximately 82% of certified staff, were supervised and evaluated in accordance with that portion of the plan. We have a very similar plan that we follow with the administrative team. So our administrators also have a plan in place, and we evaluate our certified administrators under a very similar plan than as the teachers. That is kind of the total outcomes of the plan as of last year, and I would welcome and open up any questions to the board.
Anybody have any questions? Emily?
It's not really a question, but as I was looking through this, it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot to evaluate teachers, and can you just, for the public's sake, can you kind of go through how many meetings it is, just so people can kind of get an understanding of what administrators are doing? I think that there are some misconceptions about administrators and what their job actually is, and how much of it is really taken up by this, because I've been through this process before.
Mm-hmm.
I've been evaluated, and I know on the teacher end of it, it's a lot of work. I can only imagine on the administrator side, there's quite a bit also, and this is, there's a lot per year.
Right. So to answer your question, it is time consuming but very valuable process in which you get to have lots of great conversations with from supervisor to evaluatee and vice versa. So it's fantastic in that regard. In general, most folks have either 2 to 5 observations that are required to be conducted at minimum. So everything I share right now is the minimum, right, of the plan, and then anything you would do in addition to, if you want to, most administrators like Ms. Tigno, who is here today, and many of our administrators go into classrooms almost every day, and so they do much more than the minimum requirements. But of those observations and evaluations, there's generally the observation period, which can last up to a whole period, anywhere from 20 minutes to 45 minutes. A debrief session thereafter with the educator and supervisor, which can last from 30 to 45 minutes. There is a write-up component that goes along with it. So following all that, the evaluator is required to do a write-up on the whole experience. And in this plan, provide a rating to go along with that as well under each component of the system. So all of that does comprise a fair amount of time. The write-up is somewhat a delicate process, because you want to really capture the essence of the evaluation, the observation, the conversation, and align it to the rubric that goes along in the plan. And you want to make sure that it is really providing effective feedback, so that way it addresses and complies with the whole purpose of this, which is a development program. And the whole purpose of the whole process is that everyone grows from it. So both the evaluator and the evaluatee and everyone along the way. So that's just a part of it. There's a whole goal setting portion as well. So right about now, actually, our teachers and administrators, supervisors are working to set goals for the year. So educators really look carefully and comb through their student performance data of the various assessments that have been given during the fall time, and they create an annual goal and some measurable indicators on how they're going to help students improve based on that goal. And then they meet with their administrator and go through the whole goal setting process to ensure that it is aligned and appropriate. And then what professional learning will occur throughout the year to support that goal, and evidence that will be collected to ensure that students are making adequate growth. So that's a process that happens right now, happens again at mid-year during the mid-year check-in, as well as at the end of the year. And all those processes, have time associated with them. So again, it's going to at least be a 30 to 45-minute meeting. And then all the kind of paperwork and work that goes along, analysis of student data in between and before. You're very welcome.
Thank you. Any other board questions or comments for Mr. Farisi? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move to the report number 2, staff allocation for 2017-2018.
Great. So the next report is your 2017-18
Sorry, I thought that was Bill, not you.
staff allocation and class size report. And in this report provides some information on the full-time equivalent positions by program and school. It provides you information on leaves of absence data, staff ratio comparisons, student to teacher ratios, elementary class sizes, middle school class sizes, and high school class sizes by department. So you're going to see a lot of data embedded in the report further back. The top page is a summary of that information. So I'll stick on the top page for a few minutes, and then we can answer any questions that you might have specific to the data. But this report really identifies classroom teachers and support staff by educational assignments and levels, and all of these staff positions cooperate in the delivery of our instructional program. So the annual staff allocation and class size report kind of serves as the basis for when we're going to create the budget for next year, the 2018-19 school year, because this is kind of our launching point, where we're starting from right now. In summary, I would share that we worked this summer to fill 19 positions, 16 with certified staff and 3 with non-certified staff. Of the 16 positions for certified staff, there were 12 that were contracted teachers and 4 that were long-term subs. And among the certified staff, as you recall and you received in your summer report back to school, that we did have 4 staff reductions in force, 10 resignations, 5 retirements, and 13 transfers. So that comprises a lot of the positions that we may have been filling. Among our non-certified staff, there were no resignations, but there were 4 retirements and 3 transfers. So our projected enrollment for this year was 4,033 students. As of October 1, when we report to the state our enrollment, it was 4,101 students. So we currently are 68 students over the projected enrollment, and the breakdown is as follows. We have plus 19 at the elementary level, plus 25 at the middle school, and plus 24 at the high school as of October 1. So if you desire, there on page 2 are the kind of staff allocation breakdowns for where we were for total positions, the column to the far right, where we were in 2016-17 to where we are today. In summation, if you were to look all the way at the bottom, you'll see that we are about 10.37 positions less than we were last year overall. And those are primarily due to reduction in force and attrition to get to a manageable spot that we could be for this school year.
Mr. Schulman.
Yeah, I just want to highlight that last point from Mr. Farisi. We're down 10.3 positions from last year. The budgets that we pass have serious consequences for how our schools operate. Over and over again, we hear, you cried wolf, you said the sky was falling down, and then nothing happened. something happened. We've lost 10 positions. We now have kindergarten classes with 21 students, first grade classes with 21 students, a second grade class has 23 students. This board worked very hard before I got on it to lower class sizes, to become competitive with our neighboring towns, and to provide excellent education, particularly smaller class sizes in the earlier grades. Our budget the last few years has made that impossible, and we are seeing the huge effects of that right now. I mean, these kindergarten classes are 4 or 5 students more in each class than we would typically want to have the right ratio with the right supports that we have. So, anyone thinking that last year's budget and the years before didn't have an impact, you can look right here. It had an enormous impact. And I think that shouldn't go without highlighting.
Yes.
If I could expand on Mr. Schulman's reference, I believe if you turn to pages 9 and 10, I know they're not appropriately labeled that, but if you were to just count, I believe you'll get to about 9 or 10. You'll see the elementary staff enrollment. And I highlight this to share what was just noted, but also I got new information today. Mrs. Kraus and I learned from Principal Smith at Anna Reynolds School that as of next week, 3 more students will be enrolling in grade 2. So if you look at his grade 2 enrollment figures right now, he's at 22s and 23s. That'll actually go up to 23, 23, 23, and 24 as of next week. So I just wanted to highlight that was new information this morning. This report was generated prior to that, so I apologize. But if you want to mark that. And you'll see on the next page in the middle level, our 6th and 7th grade at John Wallace, those numbers are getting high, as well as grade 5 at Martin Kellogg. And it's not to suggest that any other grade levels aren't at a higher rate, but those are getting even higher than I think we've seen in the past.
For those people that don't have the report at home, that's 26 kids in some of those classes.
27 at Wallace in some classes.
27?
In grade 6.
Oh, yeah, 27. So that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Bob?
Steve, do you have an idea how many teachers are retiring next year, at the end of this year?
So we do track that, Mr. Tofeld. I apologize. I did not bring that information with me this evening, so I wouldn't want to put out a number without referencing that information. I don't have it, but we do have it. We can get it to you tomorrow morning.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions and comments? And Mr. Schulman, thank you for bringing that up because that's a very important point. We do hear that a lot, that we're making a big deal out of nothing and, the schools are functioning just fine. And yes, our teachers are doing a phenomenal job, but there's only so much they can do. And how much higher can these class sizes climb before we have a real problem? Yep.
Mr. Freese, what's the timing when we know when we find the difference between what we thought we were getting for enrollment and what the actual is?
So do you mean the timing of when we actually know that we're at a higher enrollment rate? So that goes all the way up to the first day of school, but then thereafter as well. So this report of enrollment is as of October 1st, because those are the numbers that we report to the state. But even like I just shared, enrollment is evolving constantly, whether students are moving in or moving out. It seems like we have more moving in than out and from these numbers. And even up to this morning, me getting an email from a principal saying we have 3 more in 2nd grade. So I would say that it's ever evolving, and we're constantly keeping tabs on it daily, but also weekly. And
I'll be highlighting that in my report a little later.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Freese. We're going to go to report item number 3, the Health Benefit Fund.
Thank you, Mrs. Petronio. Normally, at this point, I asked the board to take some action. I'm asking that the board not take any action tonight. If we recall, the number being bantered around was that at this time we were going to have $1 million in a health rebate. That number is $573,000, of which about $140,000, and Lou, correct me if I'm wrong, is from the drug rebate. Mm-hmm. So you're talking a little over $400,000 in health health rebate. As you know, we went to the town council last year and we said we were $400,000 over budget for special education, which is why we couldn't open the academies and so on. So we are still over budget in special education, and I will be highlighting that a little bit later in my report on the finances. But I'm recommending that the board not take any action at this point. Once the state has settled its crisis, if you will, and has settled on a budget, we should be able to better guide the board with regard to where the money, where we're recommending the money should go. Anything else, Lou?
Mm-hmm. Right. Just a couple of points. Obviously, what you had said before, the preliminary evaluation of the fund last March indicated we were at a positive 1,000,001 trend. And that was just because in the year before, the last 3 months were just so good compared to the estimated amounts that we had very little chance of replicating it. And the dialogue over the table that day is, I was estimating to the group that, if we come in between 600,000 and 700,000, we'll have a good year, and we didn't even make that number. So it was very clear to me at that time that those numbers weren't going to hold up, and the artificial nature, or just how the calculation worked out, has to always be looked at with a degree of skepticism as far as will it actually come to pass, and it obviously did not this year. And the 1,000,001 number that is in people's minds really needs to be dispelled as far as we're nowhere near that. We're basically half of that number. That's what came in.
And just a reminder to the board, if you had taken the memorandum of understanding the deal, you would have been another 120 or so, $150,000 deeper. So it's a good thing that you held your ground on that.
Okay. Next, we have an action item, the capital improvement plan for 2018 through 2023. I think this is going to be a combination of Bill, Lou, and Bob. Oh, sorry. And will somebody read the motion? Emily.
Move the Board of Education approve the capital improvement projects for 2018 to 2023 to be funded through the Public School Capital Improvement Project Reserve Fund.
Can I have a second? Seconded by Mrs. Ancona. Discussion.
I'll start. Okay. Within the document, pages 5, 6, and 7 have the detailed forecast and request of what we're looking for the town CIP committee to consider as we go through the budget season. Page 5 is the board CIP account, which is basically the exclusive purview of the board for deciding what the projects are, the revenues yielded from tuition, building rentals, are what get brought back into the fund, along with the $125,000 mandatory appropriation. The first year we have a much larger appropriation that we're putting out there of $915,000. This is because we've built up a lot of undesignated surplus in the account, and we have to basically assign those different projects, or the money is not accessible to the board for anything they'd like to do. Okay. Page 6 is. Okay.
That doesn't mean that we have to. That doesn't mean that we have to spend all this money. It just means that money is available there, and if we don't use it, it stays in the fund.
Yes.
But if we want to use it, it has to be used for these items.
We have the ability to transfer within the line items as the projects evolve and what becomes most important.
Right, but you
but
can't.
The town
spend
has to actually authorize it.
And you can't use it for anything else but these items. So you can't, in other words,
can't add to the list.
No.
Okay, but we don't have to spend all the money.
No, in other words, you see the 915. We are we call it a surplus, but we are intentionally building up that reserve so we have a larger amount of money to do a larger project.
And just so we're clear, this is not money that can be used to fund teachers.
Absolutely not.
Okay, just want to make sure that's clear.
Okay, page 6 of the CIP document are those projects we're requesting consideration for that we believe would be best served as pay-as-you-go projects, which means they're funded out as part of the annual tax assessment each year and part of the overall town appropriation. This is not part of any referendum or any other special authorization in town. Okay. Page 7, which is the third of the 3 pages, are those high-ticket, high-dollar, long-term value projects of school reconstructions and renovations, the preschool initiative, if that is something that gets off the ground, new bus garage, and a variety of other longer-term upgrades, which will be renovated as new to John Patterson and to Martin Kellogg. So as we look to the future, these are projects we realistically have to have town support through a large bonding referendum or setting aside a significant amount of money over a number of years to have an adequate amount to go out and do these projects. So that's the layers and the stratifications. The town CIP committee will basically make decisions on pages 6 and 7 as far as which projects are ultimately included and move forward in their CIP plan.
Any questions for Lou?
I do want to point out one thing. On page 6, the council adopted, we keep talking about the bus program, and you'll see the 644, 133 in subsequent years. The 220 that was approved for this year has not been released, so we are still down some buses. We're short. We have no way to purchase them. So until the town releases that money, we will not be able to even order them.
Mr. Schulman.
I just want to say for anyone tuning in or in the audience that this is something, it's an action item tonight, something that was discussed in the subcommittee, and then we discussed as a full board at our last meeting in depth. So that's the reason why I don't have any questions, at least, because we went over it before.
Any further comment or questions? So we have a motion, it's been made, seconded, and discussed. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, we are to agenda item G, the Superintendent of Schools report.
Okay, in the interest of time, I'm going to go through this quickly. All right. I do want to point out the enrollment on the first page. I go over this every month. This is where we talk about projected versus actual. And the September, we have the October 1st enrollment, which is the most important. That is the number by which we are assessed, if you will, and the ECS money, if there's any, at this point, is based on that number. Our magnet school tuition is based on that number. All of that is based on October 1st. At the high school, we're up 15 students from projected, up 21 at Martin Kellogg, down 4 at John Wallace, up 4 at E. Green, minus 16 at Anna Reynolds, although I'm hearing differently, plus 19 at John Patterson, minus 12 at Ruth Chafee, plus 19 in magnet schools. So that is actually a little bit better because it was 201 last month. We settled at 191. That is a number you will be billed for. The next number, although the out of district is very good news, we're at 49, which is exactly projected. That was right now. Preschool is very alarming. We were projected at 57. We were at 64. That means next year we must add a preschool teacher. Regardless, you must add a preschool teacher for next year. Those numbers are entirely too high. So we are up 53 students over projected, and that's total. The Transition Academy, they are doing great things. I am not sure with the new town hall if they will be able to continue to support those activities. We will see if that passes. Transportation, last month I just completely forgot. There's a new system in place replacing tumbleweed, which was the archaic system that which is part of the reason why we just didn't do it. There's a new system. None of our drivers, of course, are on it. And I do want to thank Mrs. Petronio and Jane for their work over the last several years. They've been on the boards, I can't remember how long, 10 years? 10 years?
10.
Right, exactly. They've done phenomenal work. And I don't like to call them kids, but they have. They've done great work for our kids, and I think the community should be very appreciative of their work.
Thank you. Any questions for Dr. Collins? Okay. We are now at agenda item H, which is a second opportunity for public participation on any matter related to board responsibilities.
Good evening. I need to breathe for a second. My name is Beth Del Buno. I reside at 327 Walsh Avenue. I was watching the meeting on TV from home, and I'm here to talk about the first public participation, where some of the members of the public spoke about the girls volleyball team or part of the team's decision to kneel during the national anthem. I'm sorry, this is an emotional topic for me. I know many of the girls personally. I've even coached Yasmin when she played basketball with me years ago. I understand their right to protest, and I'm not here to argue that. I don't personally agree with the forum they chose. It's very upsetting to me. I'm a wife of a veteran. He served 22 years in the Air Force and Air National Guard. I'm a former president of the American Legion Ladies Auxiliary. My husband is a former commander of the same post. We stand behind our veterans, and we stand behind our flag and our national anthem. It means a lot to us. I view kneeling for the national anthem as a sign of disrespect to our flag, to our anthem, and to our veterans. I know after speaking with many veterans, they did fight for our rights. That is what they do. They serve our country. They fight for our rights to do exactly what they did, for protest. But if you ask any of them, never in their wildest nightmares would they have thought that part of a protest would include disrespecting the flag or doing it during a national anthem. We are all entitled to our own opinions, but I'm upset by some of the board members' comments. I heard one say that she was thrilled with their conduct, and someone else say how proud they are. I can understand you being proud of students expressing their opinions, and I understand that there's no punishment needed. I'm not here to say that. That's not my cause. I guess I'm upset because I think the girls were upset. They were surprised to hear that people were upset with their actions. People need to understand when you do something, we all know the saying, right? There's an opposite and equal reaction. People are upset. And I just don't think that the right way to handle it is to say we're proud of it. I can't be proud that anyone knelt during the national anthem. I can't be proud doing that to our flag. That is personally offensive to me. I respect the students' right to protest. I respect their right to their opinion. And I would never tell them otherwise. I hope that after their discussions with Ms. Tigno and after their discussions with the administration, which I am very pleased happened, I know those conversations happened, I'm glad they did. I hope that the girls do take something away and realize there are other ways, maybe perhaps more productive ways, to affect the change that they're looking for. And that they understand that perhaps their actions were offensive to some, even if that was not their intent. I guess I'm going to end there. It just really upset me when I heard people saying they were thrilled and proud. That really hurt my feelings. And I just hope you'll consider that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me one second. Scott Dabuno of 327 Walsh Ave. I am not elegant. My wife is. I'm disgusted with you people. I am 22 years veteran. You guys are arguing about bullying policies. Show them it. It has nothing to do with it. In your handbook of the athletic guide, it says essentially the students and parents realize that participation in Newington High School athletic program is a privilege. A privilege. You have the right to suspend these people from this game. Yes, Showman, you do. They don't have to play. You're standing up for kneeling at the national anthem? That's a disgrace. You people should be ashamed of yourself. Praising students? So what I'm going to let you know right now, I've just stepped down from the baseball chairmanship. There will be no American Legion play in this town. We will not tolerate it. And I'm not going to take responsibility of a child doing it to my sport. That's on you guys. And it is my action.
Any other member of the board wishing to come forward? We also have the phone lines open at 860-665-8736. And in the meanwhile, we also have a letter that we need to read into public participation for somebody who sent a letter in and is not available here to read it.
Okay, I'll read the letter. Good evening. I thought I would be able to attend the BOE meeting tonight, which would address the issue of our volleyball girls kneeling for the national anthem. Unfortunately, I will not be able to make it. There are quite a few rumors milling as to what disciplinary action will be taken by the board. As a Newington resident, I would just like to express my support for these girls and their families. It is against our Constitution to force them to stand. I feel they have every right to kneel if they so choose. They should not have to forfeit as a result. If they are willing to express why they did it, I would love to encourage our community to come together to try and solve the problem collectively. I myself would be willing to volunteer some time to help them address these issues. I thank you for your time. I look forward to working with anyone looking to be a part of the solution. To the girls who knelt during the anthem, God bless you. Continue to stand or kneel for what you believe in. Sometimes it takes the voices of those who can be heard to help those whose voices cannot. I am proud of each and every one of you. Signed, with warmest regards, Tanya Richard, no address.
Okay, thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to come forward? And again, as a reminder, phone lines are open at 860-665-8736.
Michael Branda, 77 Coronado Drive. First, really quick, just off the current topic, one thing I learned this week that some people in the public might want to know is when you don't understand something in the budget, that actually doesn't mean that it lacks transparency. If you, as in the public, have questions, you can actually just ask. So thank you to Lou for getting me some information, to Dr. Collins. So just a fun fact for everybody. On the topic of the volleyball team, I think the entire protest gets completely lost in what it was originally meant for. And they came here today and explained why they were doing it, and I don't think that their reasons once said that they intend to disrespect anybody who has served this country. And I think anybody can take from somebody else's actions whatever they want. The fact is that protest started with one NFL player sitting, and the way it went was a retired Green Beret who also played football advised him to take a knee. He compared it to flying the flag at half-mast, and he understood that what they were trying to say in their message was in no way a sign to disrespect his own service or anybody else's service. If somebody feels that way, I'm sorry. I thank them for their service, but these kids have a constitutional right. They weren't disrupting anything, and we have to remember that they are children. And for anybody to go on Facebook and talk about somebody else's child in the way that some people did, that should be protested. I posted this in one of the discussions. One of my high school graduates, I didn't go to Newington High, but he served many tours, actually, Iraq and Afghanistan. And this is what he said, and it's the words that have stuck out to me whenever I hear people talk about this topic. He said, "If the anthem plays, I stand, I salute, and I remember. When the music ends and my memories fade, if the man next to me is kneeling, I would offer him my hand. A great lesson that I learned is that you don't have to agree with your fellow American. You just have to accept them. Unity will always be our greatest strength." And I think if everybody would take a step back and understand that what these kids were trying to do was they were trying to send a message, not to our military, not to people who proud-servely that we thank profusely, but to problems that they see in our society, and this was their chance to have a voice on that. And it was their constitutional right, and that's why they can't be punished, nor should they. And they came here and explained that they are going to work with the police department. I've had conversations with Lucas about different ideas because this one protest is so polarized and it's getting pulled away from what it was originally meant. And I think that they are They're finding different ways to act on their concerns. And I think, to be honest with you, I sat back there. I thought I was going to have to say something tonight until now, but I was really proud of them. I mean, that was Newington High at its best. That is parents doing an excellent job. That's elementary school, that's middle school, that's high school, that's administrators. And just because we might disagree with the way that they did it doesn't mean that they didn't have a right to do it. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other member of the public wishing to come forward, or anybody would like to call the phone number 860-665-8736. Okay. Seeing no further participation at this time, we will move to remarks by board members. We'll start with Dr. Braverman.
In today's town crier, our techno bus is featured prominently. I mean, I have to say, throughout the entire meeting today, I'm proud to be a Newington resident. I'm proud of all of our students and our staff, and I will continue to be so. And our administrators for having great ideas. I thank the students for coming forward. I think they did a magnificent job. Everyone has the right to stand up for what they believe or kneel for what they believe. And I'm proud of our girls for doing what they did. Thank you.
Bob. You good? Emily?
Already said quite a bit tonight, but again, I want to say that the kids are the students in our community. I'm proud of them for all of the work that they've done to raise money for people who are in need at this time. I think that it's important to remember that the way that our students have behaved since they took a protest, since they protested last week, has been admirable. They've done a great job of advocating for themselves and discussing with the staff here and with us what their intentions are and what their plans are for creating change in the community. And I think that's admirable to say the least. And the tech bus, I went to the grand opening of that. It was pretty exciting to see what was happening there and the opportunities for the future. I'm disappointed to hear that the dinner theater is sold out, because I heard such great things about it last year that hopefully next year I will get in on it a little bit sooner so I can see some of our students in action in that regard. So, and also, Nancy and Jane.
There's no time for a roast. There's
No, and I just want to say, I mean, thank you. I've only been in this seat for 2 years, and it's a lot, and it's a lot of meetings. It's a lot of time away from your families and your kids, and when your kids are in school, it is hard. It's hard to get everything done for them and be here and try to advocate for everybody, for all of our kids. So I appreciate the time that you have taken out of your lives for the betterment of our community, for the betterment of our schools, and for the benefit of our children here. You guys have done a tremendous job. I remember the first time I met you, Jane. You came to E Green to our PTO meeting, and just your willingness to share information and to be there to answer questions and things like that. Nancy, I knew you before then, and been to many meetings with you now, and before I was on the board, I would call and say, all right, what do we need to do? What's going on? You know, and you were always available to keep me informed, and I've always been very appreciative of that. You guys, you will be missed, and I think that people remember both of you for a long time for the great work that you've done here, so thank you.
Cindy.
I did say a lot today. I just want to say that I am proud of the maturity that was displayed through the students at the high school, and I still stand by that. Their right to share their opinions. And I do want to thank you both for your leadership and your dedication to the parents and the kids of the town. And I really appreciated having you on the board when I started, because it was very new to me. Even though I am in education, this is a different side of the coin that I never experienced. And your experience and your leadership helped to get through that. Thank you.
Josh.
I have three distinct sections to my comments. First, I want to reiterate and potentially clarify some of my comments which may have gotten lost in translation. First, the word pride. The way that I use it in my comments is that I'm proud of the way our students have acted in two different ways. One, they have acted more like adults than the adults online. They have held themselves together with poise after the action that they took to protest, and they presented themselves well tonight. And the second is that they have shown maturity beyond their years and with help from the administration to reach out to other ways to affect change that they want to do aside from the protest, aside from kneeling for the flag. And that makes me proud that we have an environment where we can take our kids who've done something that's polarizing and lead them in the right direction and teach them how to affect change in a community in a real positive way that will hopefully help our community and heal things that they're protesting. The second part is that members of the community, our board member, have disagreed with me specifically about the Constitution. I am a messenger in that regard. I've studied it. I have researched the actual issues of whether or not an extracurricular event that is a privilege, of course, can you still suspend or punish or forfeit or do something that affects the students for their actions and not standing for the national anthem. And it's not just my opinion about the Constitution. I'm not a scholar, but there are scholars who've written about it, researched it. Our own lawyer has written about it and researched it. And what is very clear is that students cannot be forced to stand for the anthem, just like they cannot be forced to stand for the pledge. And it goes back to West Virginia versus Barnett, a 1940s case about students who are not standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and were punished for it. And that is, and I will tell you from my personal experience reading thousands of constitutional cases, the strongest form of language that the U.S. Supreme Court uses is in free speech cases, specifically in that one. The nationalistic nature of those things requires the government to not force people to act in a certain way during them. And that's what makes this country great. And I think we all believe it when we think about it. And it's not an opinion to disagree with me. I'm not the arbiter of what the Constitution means and what it says, but I've read a lot of it and I've read a lot of other opinions, and they uniformly agree that had we punished, those students would have had cases against us for violating their constitutional rights. The second thing is, Mr. Del Buono, I'm happy to see your face. Veterans Day, we are open in Newington. As we talked about last fall, I know you're very involved in the American Legion with your 22 years of dedicated service to our country. I hope that you will be part of the group that will be able to come into our classrooms, share your experiences, share why we appreciate our veterans on that day specifically, but throughout the year. I hope that you will be willing to do that and be part of that. I've asked Dr. Collins to reach out to our American Legion. As we had talked last year, you're interested in being more involved in the schools and talking about the contests that are available through the American Legion for our students that they can learn from. So I hope that our veterans in the community will take that opportunity to meet with more of our students, share their experience, and I think that would be great for everyone. Lastly, you guys aren't getting away easily tonight. I want to thank both of you for your service. 6 years for Jane, 10 for Nancy. Jane is the last survivor from our first election. I guess that is me. Thank you for your time, Nancy in particular, for the last 6 years on curriculum. Thank you for your help in pushing through a ton of different positive $0 impact curriculum changes that have benefited our students and will continue to benefit our students for many years. And for the last 2 years, the countless hours, the time away from your family, your kids and your husband, the phone calls at all hours of the morning and the night, the amount of things that you've put up with from all of us, we really appreciate it. Your service has not gone unnoticed, and we really appreciate the leadership that you've provided. So thank you.
Jane.
Well, you have been doing this longer than me, so I want to say thank you. And I did want to piggyback a little bit on what Josh said. With this hoopla, I think it's more important than ever to have the appreciation of our veterans on Veterans Day. The whole plan that we had when we're open, I think it's very important that the message gets out to our students that they do have the right because of the veterans. As I said earlier, I do feel it's a legitimate debate as to whether or not it's a good protest, but there's a distinction between an NFL player making gazillions of dollars and a high school student. I don't really appreciate name calling of our students. I think that crosses the line, so I don't think that's appropriate. I I think it's pretty settled at this point. I just would like to, again, go back to appreciating our veterans. That's why they have that right. And please, let's really stick to that NPS and really do that during Veterans Day, to really do everything we can to make sure that our veterans are appreciated. And I feel like there was more I wanted to say, but I can't remember it. So thank you. Thank you to Newington for letting me be here for 6 years serving our students. It's been a pleasure and an honor. And I love this town. I love our students. And God bless Newington.
Thank you, Jane. I just also want to thank everybody who came out today. This was a difficult board meeting. Impressive, difficult, sad. I wanted to cry, laugh. It's been a mess for me internally. My dad was a Vietnam vet, so I have some very strong feelings about this myself, and I'm here to represent the students in what they did, and they have the right to do what they did. So this has been very, very difficult for me. So that being said, I appreciate everything that we talked about tonight and everything that everybody offered, because we have some very impressive people who came to speak with us this evening and helped us see it from all sides. So I really appreciate that. So that being said, I want to say a few words, as this is my last meeting as chairperson of the board, and I cry all the time, and I think you all know that. It's been an honor serving the students of Newington in this capacity. I've worked alongside some very wonderful people over the years who were here for all the right reasons. They spent countless hours working to ensure that we continue to offer new and challenging opportunities to our students in an effort to fulfill the mission of every student being college, career, and citizenship ready. I want to thank Chairperson Dan Carson, Stephen Woods, Dr. Mark Finkelstein for paving the way for their leadership and dedication during my 10 years on the board. Additionally, I want to thank our current Vice Chair, Jane Siegel, and our past one, Josh Schulman, for their efforts and influence on so many issues that directly impacted our children. It is very rare that I made a decision without their input, guidance, and counsel. So I thank them for always picking up the phone and always being formal leaders, informal leaders, on and off the board, in and out, and their friendship. Also, without them, I couldn't run a successful board meeting. You guys all know that. I don't know how to do the required amendments and motions and all that legal speak. So I'm glad that the two of them were sitting here to my left. To those of you around the table, so Paul, who's not here this evening, and Sharon, and Bob, and Emily, and Cindy, and Josh, and Jane, thank you for all that you've done and all that you'll continue to do. For those of you who were new, you would never know. You stepped in, you hit the ground running, and you contributed as if you had always been around the table for the last 10 years. You were here for all the right reasons, and I am happy and confident leaving the board in your hands. To Sharon, we started together 10 years ago. You're an instrumental figure and one of the strongest advocates I know for our children, and they're lucky that you're sticking around. Finally, I also want to thank all those who I have served with who have definitely made a difference on so many important topics over the years that directly impacted our students, from changing the length of our school day to adding instructional coaches to early release days for professional development, which are great. It's great for our students, but as a parent, God, it really stinks when you work. To looking at improving the transition of our students from middle to high school, to improving our math curriculum, the world language program, strengthening and adding AP courses at our high school, supporting the infusion of technology throughout our district, and seeing our STEM program and academies break ground, grow, and flourish. Over the last 10 years, those things were accomplished by working together as a unified board, with most of you here currently at the table, and others who have served and moved on. Puba, Beth, Pam, Scott, Meg, Clark, Dave, and Kevin, and I worked with all of them. Thank you. To the children of this district, do not ever doubt for 1 minute that you are not supported by this wonderful network of teachers, principals, and administrators, led by Bill, Sophie, Deb, Pam, Wendy, Steve, Kim, and Jay. They are so passionate about what they do, and they have created a culture here in Newington that has allowed Newington Music, Newington Athletics, led by Mr. Myers, and Newington Academics to be top-notch. Newington is a leader in education and has some of the most talented, dedicated, and caring teachers in this industry that will continue to be a pioneer in helping Newington students become the best of the best. Thank you for the past 10 years. I consider myself lucky to be part of this board. I will be watching from the sidelines, but not too far away, as I have 3 children, and they're entrenched in everything that this wonderful school system has to offer. So thank you. with that, a motion to, oh. We just ended the meeting, Emily, sorry. Okay, I'm sorry, and we are officially adjourned. That's a little inside joke at 8:52. Thank you.